Bienvenidos! Welcome to the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast, the show for Spanish learners that love music, travel, and culture. Close your grammar textbooks, shut down the language apps, and open your ears to how Spanish is spoken in the real world. Let us show you how to go from beginner to bilingual. Here is your host, certified language coach, Tamara Marie.
Hola y bienvenidos al episodio 76. Welcome to episode 76 of the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast. In this episode, we'll be reviewing the lyrics to another classic salsa song by Marc Anthony. The name of the song is Valió la Pena, and it was actually released back in 2005. So it was released in 2005. And it did win Latin Grammys, and the album that the song appeared on went to number one for the Latin Grammys that year, as many songs by Marc Anthony have done. So if you're not familiar, he is a very popular salsa singer. He is Puerto Rican, and he sings also ballads and other types of songs as well. But this particular song I chose because it has a few expressions that you can actually use in day-to-day conversation. And it's also just a great song to dance to. So if you haven't heard this song, I will be including it in the show notes. So just go to learnspanishconsalsa.com/76. That's learnspanishconsalsa.com/76. And I'll include a link to, or I'll include the video, the actual music video, so you can watch it. It's a great song to dance to. The only pet peeve I have about it is there is one part where the music kind of cuts off. So like the salsa part kind of cuts off, and it's sort of like a slow, kind of like there's some drums playing and the music goes really low. So usually like if you're out dancing, like everyone will kind of stop and pause, and then everyone's like, okay, what do I do? Or we just have to do like a two-step or some kind of more like African style of dance in that little intermission, and then it like picks back up and gets to the song. So I don't know, at first it used to bug me, but now it's a welcome break because it is a super fast song, and you also do get to see some pretty amazing salsa dancing in this video. So make sure you check it out, learnspanishconsalsa.com/76 after you listen to this episode, okay? So I am just going to go through the chorus of the song, or el coro, because there are quite a few phrases that we can learn just from the chorus of the song. And the song is quite long, so I'm just going to be going through the chorus in this episode, but I think you'll find it pretty valuable because, as I mentioned, there's quite a bit within just this chorus that you can actually use in day-to-day conversation. So first, starting with the name of the song. So the name of the song is Valió la Pena. Valió la Pena, which literally means like it was worth the trouble or the penalty, something similar to that. But it's really a phrase that you have to translate as one. So this is another one of those situations in Spanish where you have a phrase or an expression that it's best not to translate word for word. So Valió la Pena in English is best translated as it was worth it. Okay, it was worth it, or like it was worth the trouble. Whatever he had to do in the situation, it was 100% worth his time, worth his trouble. It was worth it. All right. So that's the best way to think of this phrase. And it also isn't just used in this song, even though, you know, a lot of songs, again, are, you know, very poetic. They can be ballads. The song is also pretty romantic, like a lot of salsa songs are. But this is just a phrase that you can use. It's not a very dramatic phrase. It's actually a pretty common phrase that you actually hear people use all the time. So if I ask someone, ¿Llegaste a la playa? ¿Llegaste a la playa? So like, did you arrive at the beach, or did you get to the beach? They could say, sí, valió la pena. Like, yes, it was worth it, because maybe it was a long ride to the beach. At least I know it is for me. I do not have any beaches near my house, so it's pretty long ride, but it's always worth it to go to the beach, right? So think about something like that where you would use this in day-to-day conversation, and you may notice that valió la pena is actually conjugated in the past tense. This is the preterite past tense. So valió, it's based on the verb valer, which means to cost or to be worth, and it is the preterite past tense of valer in the third person. So valió la pena, it was worth it. However, if I wanted to say it is worth it in the present tense, which again, very common phrase that you will hear in conversation, you would simply say vale la pena. vale la pena. So that's the present tense conjugation of the exact same phrase. So valió la pena, it was worth it. Vale la pena, it's worth it. So by the same token, if I was on my way to the beach, I could say vale la pena ir a la playa. Vale la pena ir a la playa. So it's worth it to go to the beach. It's something that you are talking about that, maybe there was some effort involved, but whatever effort is involved in the task, it is definitely worth it because there is some benefit or reward. So very, very common phrase, but it also happens to be the name of our song and how the chorus actually starts. It goes, valió la pena lo que era necesario para estar contigo, amor. Tú eres una bendición. Las horas y la vida de tu lado, nena, están para vivirlas, pero a tu manera. Enhorabuena, porque valió la pena, valió la pena. Okay, and then it just repeats from there. And it's the same thing repeated twice for the chorus, and it's repeated again and again in the song. So let's break down exactly what this means. So we already talked about valió la pena, which means it was worth it. And then he says, lo que era necesario. Lo que era necesario. So that lo que, as you know, just means what. So this is the combination again, yet another phrase that you can't really separate word for word to translate, but just think of lo que, even though it's two words, as one phrase or one word, and it just means what. So it was worth it. Then he says what was necessary. Lo que era necesario. Lo que era necesario. So this era is the past tense. Again, this is a different past tense. It's actually the imperfect, not the preterite, of the verb ser. So we have the imperfect past tense, or el imperfecto, of the verb ser, and it is era. So lo que era necesario. So that era in this case just means was, okay? And necesario is necessary. So valió la pena lo que era necesario. So it was worth it, what was necessary. And then right after that he says, para estar contigo, amor. Para estar contigo, amor. So that para is in order to, and estar is to be, and contigo is with you. So as you know, con by itself just means with, but when you're saying with you in an informal sense, there's this sort of exception, right? So instead of saying conti or something like that, or con tu, you would actually say contigo, contigo. Okay, so that is a little bit of an exception to the rule. And then amor, as you know, which means love. So in this case, he's not saying love as in love in general, but he's actually referring to the person he's talking to, the woman he's speaking to. He's calling her love as a term of endearment. So, valió la pena lo que era necesario para estar contigo, amor. So it was worth it, what was necessary in order to be with you, my love. Now, I will caution you, in the song, he says this pretty quickly. So I am breaking it down for you pretty slow. So when you hear it, it is super fast. He says, valió la pena lo que era necesario para estar contigo, amor. All right, it's very, very fast. So when you hear it in the song, don't be sort of shocked by that, but just sort of get used to what the words are, and you'll be able to hear it. You might want to also slow it down maybe the first couple times as well. But it is a super, super fast song. So the next line he says, tú eres una bendición. Tú eres una bendición. So this one's super easy. So tú eres, so you are, una bendición. So you are a blessing. So bendición is blessing. You might also hear another form of this word, bendito. So it's very common in Puerto Rico especially. So bendición is a blessing, and bendito literally means blessed. However, in Puerto Rico, they use it a little bit differently. So it's more of a term that's used to say something like, oh, you poor thing. Sometimes you'll hear, ay bendito, like, oh, you poor thing, right? So sometimes it's used like that. It can also be used to like say please or ask someone or sort of plead with them, right? So you're trying to get pity or compassion. So you can say, bendito, ven conmigo a la fiesta. So oh, please come with me to the party. It also can be shortened to just dito. So sometimes you won't hear bendito, you just hear dito. That all comes from bendición, which is blessing. So there's quite a few ways you can use that as well. Then he says, las horas y la vida de tu lado, nena. So las horas is the hours, y la vida, and the life, de tu lado, nena. So this de tu lado means at your side, right? And nena is another term of endearment. Literally means baby, but in this case, again, it's the woman he's speaking to. It's a term of endearment like, sweetheart, babe, something like that, right? So, las horas y la vida de tu lado, nena, all right? So far we have, it was worth it, what was necessary to be with you, love. You are a blessing, the hours and life at your side, babe. So, again, like most Marc Anthony songs, he's talking very highly of this woman, very convincingly, right? All right, and then he says, están para vivirlas, pero a tu manera. Están para vivirlas, pero a tu manera. This están para vivirlas is referring to the previous line, las horas y la vida. So he's spending his hours and his life at her side, and then he's saying, they están para vivirlas. This están para vivirlas, it's a little tricky to translate, but it really just means that they are to be lived. He's saying that these hours and his lifetime that he's spending at her side are to be lived. All right, it's kind of not a direct translation into English because it doesn't really translate that neatly, but literally it's more like they are for living them, right? They are for living them. And so you have vivirlas, which is actually one word. So this is the case where you have the direct object pronoun. So I know I'm getting a little bit into grammar here, but you have the lo or los for a masculine object. So it really just means it or them. And then you have la or las for feminine objects or for females. All right. So, but in this case, this vivirlas is referring to las horas y la vida. Okay, so he's saying he's spending this time at her side. So his hours and his life is to be lived at her side. So that las in vivirlas refers to that. All right. And also, as I mentioned, it's one word. So the las is actually tacked onto the end of vivir. And you can do that, and I've mentioned this in some previous episodes,